We are back with some more Hearthstone Global Games action. We have Germany versus Belarus coming up next, and it's going to be an interesting set here because Germany are on the brink of sort of a comeback to a certain extent. What's wrong?
Just wondering whether this this Twitter is accurate now. Have you?
It is still accurate.
It is still accurate. Yeah, okay. For those of you who don't know, of course, Life Coach recently departed G2, so it's important that they picked up someone with as illustrious competitive history and high-level Hearthstone background as they could to replace him. That man, of course, being the beautiful human sat next to me.
There you go,
Mr. Alexander Raven Bagley.
Thank you for that. Getting back to what people are really interested in.
He's actually gone red. Oh.
Getting back to what people are really interested in, Germany and Belarus.
Yes.
Life Coach will be playing for Team Germany, so I guess that's sort of relevant-ish, maybe.
Yep.
And yeah, Germany on the sort of return from a 0-2 opening into this tournament. They did win their last match against Croatia, who have been struggling, to be honest. And then Belarus on the other side of this, according to a certain extent, with just a 0-1 record to Czech Republic. So they haven't played as many matches. So although, 0-1 sounds bad, they've still got another 2 matches, not including this one, to catch up with Germany, so to speak.
Right, and yeah, Belarus are definitely a big underdog team. The one name that was known to me before this tournament started was Twist. And we actually spoke to him a little bit to get some information on the rest of his team, just to fill in the gaps for us so we can hopefully tell you a little bit more about them. But Belarus, even as a country, just not really a place that I have massive familiarity with. And my only real experience of Belarus in the past is Alexander Hleb playing for Arsenal. That's about all I've got.
Yeah, the only country in the world Sotil has not visited.
True fact.
But I have been to Germany multiple times, so take some of that. But yeah, the Germany team in general, we can talk more about Belarus as we get into the match, but the Germany team in general was supposed to be, on paper, a powerhouse team, basically, for global games, and they're opening 0-2. They got beat by Philippines and Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine, okay, that's going to be a tough one, but Germany aren't exactly a fresh-faced team we haven't seen before. Right. Very, very strong players indeed. Losing to Philippines, though, they probably didn't expect that, to be completely honest. But now they've got the opportunity with a win through Croatia to be able to get another win against Belarus, and then suddenly a 2-2 score, as we've seen throughout some other groups, actually looks okay. Not too bad at all.
Yep, so now you do see the matchup plate, and it's going to be FC Mushko opening against Super JJ. This is a best-of-5 team format. Each player gets to nominate 2 decks for themselves. They then pick one. First team to get to 3 wins wins. So you see the first game will be FC Mushko versus Super JJ. FC Mushko does have that Pirate Warrior available. Oh, sorry, the Warrior available.
I was going to say, do you know his Pirate Warrior?
Bear with me just for a second. We'll come around to it. He's not going to pick it. He's going to go with the Rogue. But one of the things we were told by Twist, actually, is that Mushko is a player that does like to, as Twist put it, play Smork decks, which is why my brain went to the Pirate Warrior. But it's going to be the Rogue coming out, and it's going to be the Shaman from Super JJ. And yes, yesterday we saw an aggressive Shaman really take it home against Quest Rogue late in the series in the ace match for Austria. But typically, any kind of mid-rangey to control Shaman build against a Quest Rogue just has a miserable win rate, down in 15-20%.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does nothing, right? It does nothing for 6 turns, and then it's, okay, let's get oh wait, I'm dead, because Quest Rogue has completed the quest and started just piling on that damage, and guess what? Devolve doesn't do much to that board, unfortunately.
So turn your 5/5s into 5/5s that cost 1 mana less. Take that.
Yes, with potential abilities, further abilities as well. See the players getting ready. No surprise whatsoever to see JJ and Life Coach together. They do hang out reasonably often, so I've heard. So that's not too much of a surprise either. Whereas Team Belarus looks like can't quite see every single one of their members, but I do think they do gather all of them for their match.
Yeah, it makes sense. And JJ, of course, storied history, went through a streak where he was pretty much just the competitive Hearthstone player. He was winning everything. Of course, teammate of mine on Complexity, alongside Crane, who you saw for Denmark earlier, and several other mighty fine Hearthstone players as well. But of course, picked up his first big win, of course, Seat Story Cup way back in the day. Followed that up immediately with a couple of online 16-man and 8-man invitationals, and then went on to be a major player in a lot of LAN events.
Well, his win at Seat Story was quite flashy and memorable as well, because he played Reno in Freeze Mage, which was made quite the memorable first victory. And I still hope to this day, I feel like I may be wrong in terms of exact numbers, but I feel like JJ is the player who's made it to most top cuts of Swiss. you know, maybe not today, but he must be close because it felt like every tournament he was rocking up with that Swiss format, he would just make it through.
Yeah, if there wasn't actually a player called Swiss King, then we might be able to refer to JJ as the Swiss King.
Yeah, but getting into this game, the first game of the series of Germany versus Belarus. JJ on the Shaman and Belarus with the Rogue. And it was, sorry, who started for Belarus? Oh, Mushko, of course, yeah.
If I remember rightly, weren't Belarus trolling chat with this board last week as well?
I think so.
Yeah.
Just to see a certain... You know, you tell us what you see that might stick out differently on the Belarus camera. Let us know. Yeah, let us know what's going on. So... Quest Rogue, a deck we've discussed quite a lot.
Elemental Shaman.
Yeah, go.
Say what you see.
That was a good game. I used to love that TV show. Yeah. But Quest Rogue, we've talked about it a lot in terms of ordering, timing, and exactly when you need to proc the quest and how you proc it. How much does having this Igneous Elemental play into this and change the plan? Because me and Falcon were casting this morning, earlier on this evening, where the Igneous Elemental came down for both players, but then a Firefly was drawn and it just blew up the game.
Yeah, Igneous Elemental gives you security. It's actually a very solid minion just in terms of value, that between the Igneous Elemental body itself and the 2 Flame Elemental bodies, you can actually just compete for board quite nicely for a couple of turns just alongside that. When I say it gives you security, it also gives you kind of a late game plan. And when I say late game in terms of Quest Rogue, we're talking like turn 6, turn 7 kind of thing, right? Like, it means you can stretch out your quest activation to those kind of later turns and still feel totally fine about it. The one concern is the matchup you're currently facing right now, because Igneous Elemental is the absolute undisputable best Hex target in this deck. Because you can't use Hex after they activated the quest because they just have a 5/5 frog. It doesn't do anything. So if you're going to Hex before that, the only real value target where you actually get to deny anything from the opponent is Iggy.
Yeah, other than the very, very rare circumstances where players feel they need to take a risk to leave one of their bounced minions onto the board.
Sure.
Outside of that very, very niche circumstance, yes, Igneous Elemental is a huge Hex target. It looks like Battlefin's going to come down this turn. The second one being in hand means that this is not necessarily like a sacrifice to a certain extent. One goes on the quest tick, and it means that Battlefin could be bounced with the one in hand multiple times if required.
Yeah, they're just trying to challenge this board as best they can for now with the 2-1. Just make sure 2-1 can take some of the power out of play. As JJ and Life Coach
just doing JJ and Life Coach things.
Enjoying a private joke, as they have been known to do. But yeah, the J-Claws pickup here was absolutely insane for JJ, meaning he can just keep maximum board control here, and it's actually looking relatively promising for the Shaman in terms of early game start here. Flame Tongue can now actually push some much needed aggression, and that's what this Shaman deck really lacks. That's reason number 1 why this matchup is so miserable. You can't usually kill them quickly. Reason number 2 is that you don't then have a plan B once they have infinite 5/5s. Like, you don't have ways to deal with that more than maybe 1 or 2 turns you can potentially survive through. So being able to be aggressive now with the Flame Tongue Totem is actually going to give Super JJ and Germany a pretty solid plan A.
Also as well, the Lightning Storm in the hand actually gives JJ and Team Germany that opportunity where sometimes Quest Rogue actually splurges onto the board with loads of minions and then procs the quest the turn after to be able to effectively charge with those minions, if that makes sense, as 5/5s. Lightning Storm actually kills almost all of the minions Quest Rogue will even play because most of them don't have more than 2 health, so it's not even like a chance most of the time. It just will kill them all off.
6 mana thing from below picked up. And since the Flame Tongue is being played, that means there are always going to be trade targets on the board for the Igneous Elemental anyway. So Super JJ and Team Germany respecting that and just taking the trade with the weakest minion they possibly can. If you don't have any higher attack minions on the board, quite often it's just a better plan to ignore it and make it trade into your minions over the course of 2 turns, because that's just an entire extra turn. They don't have access to Flame Elementals to start bouncing or whatever. But in that situation, the trade was going to happen anyway, so you might as well just take the more secure board state.
Yeah, and there's even a reasonable chance that, the next couple of turns, we see this Jinyu, we see this Hot Spring come down, just as minions. Yes, they heal, which is nice, but a lot of the time, late game, the heals aren't enough to keep you alive.
Right.
So I think these are going to be, especially with a Flame Tongue Totem down, going to be more just tempo-based minions here.
Yeah, Jinyu can be relevant because it heals you for more than 5, so it can actually just require an entire extra charge minion from your opponent if you're in that kind of world. But I definitely agree with you in the fact that healing is not going to be the plan here. If it gets to the stage where you're having to scramble to heal to stay alive, you have already lost. So just commit those minions for pressure as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, the Flame Tongue just really helps with that, right? Because the more minions you have on the board, it's actually not easy for a rogue to kill a Flame Tongue because the 3 damage is actually asking quite a lot, especially if you're trading into the board every turn anyway. Now, choices here. Jade Lightning will develop an additional Jade, very importantly, on the right side of the board. Can still get a nice trade-off, and what this does is this queues up another minion next to the minion that's most likely to die because it has 1 health. So it means that you're just going to get more and more potential value from that. So this is looking a lot better than I thought it would, to be completely honest, for JJ here.
It really is, yeah. This is the small percentage of time where Shaman just gets that perfect draw together. Even the J-Claws draw on turn 2 was necessary for this to have happened. Otherwise, that 2-1 Bilefin would have reduced a lot of the pressure on the board, denied a lot of the Flame Tongue value, would have made this game look very, very different. So this is how unfavored matchups work. There are specific combinations of draws where if you play them correctly, then you can actually navigate through a bad matchup, and that is looking like what Germany have been able to pick up here.
Yeah, and I think they've been helped out by Belarus just not having anything too amazing.
Also true.
You know, yes, they had 2 Tide Callers, but they're not 1-drop, so harder to combo and bounce with. There's been no Shadow Steps. The hand is double vanish when you don't have a board anyway or anything particularly sneaky with the plays. For example, wisps into vanish. You can do funny things with the turn after. So it's going to be still relatively slow here for Team Belarus as they just continue plodding towards proccing this quest. They are going to get it this turn, but not develop much of a board.
Do you need to play? I'm not sure you play this here.
It just dies anyway, right? Yeah.
I was curious. I mean, even the Bilefin looks a tiny bit unnecessary. You could have just taken the dagger there so you have it done for South Sea Deckhand if that's a draw you... A, that's a draw that you have upside for if you dagger up. B, that's a draw you are going to need at some point this game because you're that far behind. So then you just take the dagger up, you take this damage to face this turn, you vanish the board next turn, and then the turn after you have the 1-drop Flame Elemental in your hand to play alongside the quest, or those 2 or 3 extra draws you've had towards South Sea Deckhand at that point, having now developed the dagger.
Yeah, do you think they've just made this as a sort of knee-jerk fear reaction to how the board looks at the moment?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
They're terrified. They are terrified
it's like, let's just play stuff that they might trade into, and this sounds like we're sort of, taking the mick a little bit out of them, but it's a general thing where if you're scared of dying, you did just see a Jade Lightning used, but if you are a little bit afraid, it's reasonable to just put anything you can in the way to hope to hang on. But the problem is the more you play hang on turns as this quest rogue, the less impactful the quest is going to be, which means you're probably not going to win anyway.
So yeah, the problem now is that Vanish comes down, the board gets reloaded, and then Flame Elemental into Quest the turn after isn't going to be good enough. Even if South Sea Deckhand is drawn, then South Sea Deckhand doesn't do anything. It summons the patches, which can charge, but you're really going to need 2 charges in that position. So I think, planning 3 turns ahead to a world where you can possibly win the game if your deck is nice to you, the dagger up was the superior play that turn. They would have taken an absolute savage beating in the meantime, but maybe there's then a chance.
And also a chance that, for example, prep means you can do some silly, silly things like, for example, now if there was a prep in there, prep mimic pod vanish, stuff like that to help out. But in general, yeah, I think playing the short game in this instance has not really worked out here at all from Mushko. And I don't see a way out of this, to be honest. Like you said, they can vanish, but great. Just give them more cheap minions to play and a Flame Tongue. Especially the Firefly generates an additional 1-drop, so...
So what, 1, 3, 5, 6, 7 mana's worth of stuff they'd be banishing going into their opponent's turn 6?
Just don't play the Murloc.
It's not great.
Oh, no.
It's not great.
They just reset the board. Go again.
Yeah, Life Coach and JJ seem relatively enthusiastic about this position.
And I would like to see them go wide again here, because I think that's the key problem. If you play 1 minion, say the thing from below, the quest charge just completely wrecks you and opens up the potential for a kill here by Mushko on the rogue. But I just feel like going wide again is like, you just can't deal with this. The quest isn't even active yet.
What I will say is that Germany are going to be far less enthusiastic about this second vanish when it happens, because Belarus can now go vanish Flame Elemental quest done at this point.
Yeah.
Which means that 1-2 on board is going to be a 5-5 the next turn. So Vanish number 2 is actually threatening to make a serious mess of this game plan from Germany, and maybe that tiny little extra bit of health that Belarus were able to gain on the turn where they contested the board is actually going to make a difference here.
Yeah, I wonder if hero power is ever a consideration here as well. You reduce the thing to what will it be, to 1? If you play the totem as well.
I don't think that's just enough pressure overall, though.
It's still 1 minion, right?
Right. I think once the Flame Tongue comes down, it would cost 3 anyway, cost 2 anyway, and they can just play it here and hold back the Flame Tongue for the kind of charge potential on the following turn. But yeah, this second Vanish is actually going to give Belarus a little window here, perhaps even more than that. They'll actually be in a pretty comfortable position overall.
Yeah, they do need to swing in a fair few times, though. It's going to be 6 times to be able to kill them without a double dagger hit, and there won't be time for a dagger this turn either. So
they don't have to go for straight up lethal from this position. They can just
control
5/5s and just trade things out for the rest of the game until they eventually overwhelm.
The thing from below died. It was played last.
Ooh,
that's actually huge. Point. Yeah, that's actually huge.
Of course, it had to be played after the totem, but being played after the Fireflies was not a necessity at all.
Not at all. So a slight slip up there in terms of, yes, you know, the second Vanish goes out your mind a little bit once you've seen 1. But still, for want of sequencing, it doesn't matter, right? You know, you'd much rather have the 5/5 that costs, 1 in hand than, you know, the Fireflies here. Again, going wide's fine, but also bear in mind there's no Bloodlust and Flame Tongue. If you are going aggressive, well, you're not going to get multi-trades out of the minions anyway, right? You're going to go face and hope it's enough.
So you have to storm this 1/2 from Germany now, right?
Like, it has to die.
Lightning Storm is a useless card for the rest of the game after this point, once Crystal Core comes down. Are they really not going to?
They're just going to rely on the fact that 1 card is the quest.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 card's been in hand and not done much recently. Could be charged, but they're just hoping there's just not enough charge minions to deal with this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 plus 2 from the Flame Tongue would mean 10 damage being pushed. So they've chosen to just set up lethal for themselves anyway, as opposed to removing the 5/5, which is reasonable because they have the Taunt Totem in play. And yeah, the turn this comes down, I've been talking about how the lack of dagger might make this exact card awkward, but since it's been stalled out all the way until turn 8 now, means perfect mana utilization with the dagger, the South Sea Deckhand, is going to start to be able to pick this board apart.
What this could do, though, is even with Shadow Step onto one of the charge minions, if the plan for Belarus is to just trade, then maybe, because they can't trade into every single minion, I don't think. Do they have trades all the way?
1 short.
Yeah, so then Flame Tongue potentially plus Lightning Storm might clear off the board here.
Shadow Stepping Deckhand?
They're going to replay it anyway,
They're going to replay it right
now,
so it makes no difference. Yeah, I guess.
But in general, the patches is more powerful because you don't require the dagger for it to gain the charge.
It means, actually, this is correct, because it means there is a point of damage on the Deckhand and not on the patches, whereas Deckhand is the minion that you would rather die in this position and have patches around in the long term to be able to bounce.
Now this is where it gets tricky, as we said. Lightning Storm not doing much, especially with no spell damage totem.
Devolve. They just moused over Devolve. What a card.
Hey, Devolve could get rid of 2 charge minions.
So they couldn't be bounced anymore?
Yeah.
It's true.
It's just something to think about.
It's clutching at straws, but we are living in a world where straws very emphatically do need to be clutched at right now.
Okay, gotta go for Hot Spring Guardian here. And I do like this aggressive play. I don't think at this point trading will do anything.
No.
So you need to go aggressive. There's still Jade Lightning in the deck. There's still the Jade Claws as well.
1 of each.
Yeah, there's 1 of each. So there's still a chance to chip some more damage. If the next 2 draws are exactly Jade Lightning and Claws, then it's all on Belarus to finish the game quickly. This Mimic Pod could be huge. We've seen a lot of charge minions not get drawn yet. They are going to be Novice Engineers, though, which is still going to help out with this much mana.
That'll do, Pig. That'll do.
Shadow Step.
Shadow Step's huge. Patches can get the value trade into the 4/4 and then be Shadow Step from there. 3rd Novice Engineer.
Keep going.
Yep. Shadow Step on Patches is 0 mana play anyway, so they can go ahead and draw another card if they want here. Just set up lethal essentially on the board.
This is what gets scary about Rogue if the games go this late, is they can always play all of their hand every single turn if they really want to, because the cards are so cheap. It's ridiculous.
And so many of their cards just recycle as well, like Mimic Pod, Novice Engineer, Swashbucklers if they're in the deck, although that isn't common anymore, but then Fireflies, Igneous Elementals, like all these things just repeat value. It's insane.
Even killing the 1/1, not giving Germany any potential out straight away with the minion, say a second Flame Tongue plus Jade Lightning, for example. Also just a spell damage Jade Lightning plus the attack from the 1/1 would have ended this.
Remember when we said how bad this matchup was? Rogue still won this game.
Filthy.
Yeah.
Not going to be enough. Gotta go for... Hang on. Yeah, there's nothing.
High roll. They need spell damage into high roll on the 4 health minions to survive. That's about all they've got.
I missed the spell damage.
That is game.
They need to be able to evolve their opponent's board to get Doomsayers somehow.
Yeah, there are Wisps and 1-mana minions from the Novice Engineers. The Novice Engineers could turn into Mistress of Mixtures, but that doesn't matter because you've just got...
a billion damage on board.
Have 30 damage covered anyway. Yeah, it's just not looking good.
Wow. Even though the opening was as good as it was realistically going to be for JJ, it just wasn't enough. The Lightning Storm getting 0 use, dead card in hand. The Jinyu could have seen use, so not bad, but then double devolve. Pointless.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I almost don't want to watch the rest of the series. I want to go back and just break down that game for the next 2 hours and try and figure it out, because that was actually super interesting overall. I think there was game-changing decisions being made from both sides. I questioned the sequencing around the quest over those few turns from Belarus, which actually worked out fairly well for them. You know, cards on the table. Actually, their plan came together with the Vanish into Vanish and then activate the quest from there. And then from Germany's side, not storming the 1/2. Yes, they set up lethal from their perspective, but because the extra minion was left on board from the Rogue side, there was always that one extra 5/5 that was going to kill one of their minions.
Yeah, it was going to happen every single time, right?
They had Taunt Totem in the way, which breaks all that down, but again, I'd really love to go back and break down that kind of turn, but right down to the wire in the end, and we said it was a bad matchup for exactly that reason. Even though the Shaman was looking so heavily favored for so long, Rogue was able to turn the corner in the end. And Belarus, step number 1, notch number 1, tick number 1 towards a very, very big upset.
Yeah, off to a great start. And now we have Hunter for Belarus going up against Mage from Germany. It's going to be Viper on the Mage, and we talked to him last time. I think was it last week? When you weren't here, or the week before. Anyway, I've spoken to him either way about his mage list, and he took out the Cabal Couriers and put in the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the Elite into the Gunter-style mage.
We had this conversation yesterday, but I didn't know you were talking to Viper when it came.
Yeah, so it was Viper the first time I saw the list appear, which was in HCG.
Okay.
And we got to interview Viper as well, which was nice. So I asked him, I said, why? What's with this? And he just...
Question mark.
Yeah, exactly. And he just said, well, Sorcerer's Apprentice can just lead to stupid things from Glyph, even if you happen to Glyph into a tome. It just makes turns weird in a good way. And then also just Elise is just a solid mid-game minion that can help out with some control matchups as well, because you can get the pack. And frankly, Cabal Courier just misses more than it hits, at least in my opinion.
And it's interesting too, because we've kind of reached the point now where Secret Mage is kind of coming into the meta and replacing Gunter Mage in a lot of spots. And I assume this whole conversation was about Gunter Mage previously. Yeah. So now, of course, the Mage coming out has that extra little twist in it where it might just be running the new Secret package and Cabal Crystal Runner, for example. Then suddenly there's a whole new group of combinations, because Sorcerer's Apprentice becomes even more promising in that deck, because you are generally looking to play for aggressive tempo. And I do like now playing Sorcerer's Apprentice in a lot of different mage decks, primarily because the first card that goes into any mage deck you're building these days is Primordial Glyph. And when you play those two cards together, you're actually making like this bizarre mana profit off the spells that end up.
Somehow it works
if you can cast them all. Yeah, it's like when you take a long distance flight and you feel like you've actually time traveled. Like if you could just fly around the world forever, you'd just make time.
You just create time.
That's what Sorcerer's Apprentice and Primordial Glyph does. It creates mana.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I have played a lot of Secret Mage as well, but as we get into this game now, what's going to be interesting is how much sort of research Belarus did, because Viper played this deck last time, said it was his build last time as well. So you've got to put the odds on, okay, Viper's got Mage, we know exactly what we're going up against. So they've probably picked Hunter with almost full knowledge here, and will be happy that Hunter can deal with this Mage. And I'll be honest, Hunter is a tough matchup, because Ice Blocks are great, kind of annoying when there's just hero power every single turn proccing them.
Yeah, Alley Cat guaranteed keep for No Name here as the Hunter gets the Scavenging Hyena curve as well. Alley Cat into Hyena, one of the most oppressive openings you can possibly come up with. Frostbolt is available for Viper alongside Volcanic Potion, which can potentially pick apart the Hyena, as well as the fact that he doesn't really have early game minions to play right here, which kind of stops him falling into that Scavenging Hyena trap. Yeah. More or less, like, he's just going to have to ping this turn, which plays around the kind of Scavenging Hyena thing anyway. Whereas if he had an Arcanologist, we'd probably see him play Arcanologist, and then things can potentially get messy.
Yeah, kind of in an awkward way worked out for Viper with this opening, as I doubt No Name's going to coin out a companion.
I think he will. I think it's the play, yeah.
I suppose with the second one for turn 3 as well, it's not too bad. You can set up turns later on that will guarantee a Hyena. But I think with high main down, you really got to think about whether you want to just go Hyena, Animal Comp, or, you know, Houndmaster depending, and get an Animal Comp in Hero Power later, or just coin out high main just for the extra pressure.
No, I like companion into companion because you're trying to land Houndmaster this game, so the chance of playing back-to-back full health minions, which is, you know, one of the most likely outcomes, with only a Huffer being the alternative, means your board is actually very resilient going into that Houndmaster. You make them answer 2 awkward board states to deny Houndmaster, and when you're trying to be aggressive against a very controlling deck with Hunter, Houndmaster on curve is arguably even more impactful than landing high main on curve in terms of being able to make that happen. So I like companion into companion line personally.
There is going to be Fireball available next turn to or the turn after to deal with whatever's Houndmastered. But yeah, it is a lot of
the minion behind the whole time, right? Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's still so much pressure that a Fireball, yes, it deals with one, but you're still taking damage, and all this early damage is what you need to avoid as this mage, because, you know, other than Alex Straza and yourself super late game, you've got nothing to stop them. Often with this list versus other classes and other decks, you just kill their minions and you're like, well, you've either got burn or you can't kill me. You know, it's one or the other. Whereas Hunter just keeps pressing that hero power, and it's just so much pressure. It's crazy.
So I'm pretty sure we have committed to the double animal companion line this turn, but No Name just paying the due diligence to the fact that he could have multiple options in his hand, not wanting to give away anything to the opponent. That is exactly what you saw. In case you have not played any kind of competitive Hearthstone before, the actions going across the cards were the very clear and indicative behavior of a man that is trying to bluff he has something else to do. Just touch a few other cards, play the one card you're always going to play anyway. Which people would stop doing that, because it's the most transparent thing in the goddamn world.
Yeah, well, something that's not quite as transparent but similar is like Discover, not snap picking the best one.
Yeah, that's way
Discover,
better.
Yeah, you just sit and wait, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that could be anything.
When you're discovering a card in a competitive format, don't touch anything. Just just sit and stare at the cards for a few seconds, then pick something.
Or snap pick a terrible one out of all 3 and then make them fear it. Just be like, oh god, he didn't even look at the others.
The debate play. You just like deliberately don't pick Fireball and just take Shatter just to make them think you have the nuts the whole time.
And then you try and aim it at face just to say, oh, lethal, and like, okay, concede. It happens on ladder sometimes, but probably not in a tournament with this caliber of player.
Happens in Australia, I've heard.
It does.
I had to get revenge for yesterday.
Ah, yeah, Navi winding you up.
Yeah.
It's not exactly it's a compliment, isn't it?
No.
To be called Raven?
Definitely isn't.
Wow.
Tundra Rhino charging a high main seems solid. There is the argument, though. We were talking about this in the previous series, where I kind of liked playing Stranglethorn Tiger on curve instead of Tundra Rhino. Because he had the Tundra Unleash combo in hand already. Okay. Which if you then, like, if you're able to fill out your curve through like 6, 7, 8.
Tundra Unleash combo.
Right, because Hyena then goes with it. Which right. Okay. Which is almost always lethal.
I was worried for a second there. I was like, so you do know the Hounds have charge anyway.
Now, in this occasion, Tundra Rhino and Scavenging Hyena are together in hand, and that might be the consideration. Kindly Grandmother is another card that can go very nicely with it on a following turn as well. But just the curve play just looks so strong, right? It's just maximum pressure right now. It's down to 9 on Germany's side. It just looks like way too devastating not to do this. It is going to get slightly Meteor punished, if you want to look at it that way.
It's been slightly meteored. How would you be slightly hit by a meteor? It just whistles past you and you get blown over or something?
Been gently meteored, caressed by a meteor.
Oof. Got no follow-up to that.
Sounds like a high-end spa treatment.
Yes. If you come in for your meteor caress stage, that would be rough. It's like one of those made up, like, not made up, I'm going to insult people now. You like the...
Where is this going? I'm dying to find out now.
We'll carry on after this turn, actually. We'll find out part 2 of Raven's weird spa story.
Okay.
Highmane does just feel like the strong pick, but I feel like just as much now, No Name could just go wide if he really wanted. Dirty Rat plus Grandmother means that you can almost guarantee some kind of, you know, trade potential next turn, or just lethal potential if a kill command's drawn, or to buff the Hyena. There's a lot of options here.
It is. I mean, Highmane is... It's not... I mean, it's still strong against Firelands Portal. If Firelands Portal comes down, you're still pushing 4 plus the hero power, but it gives them a viable play. And Firelands Portal is actually quite likely to hit a taunt minion as well. 11 out of 69 times that happens. So actually giving that window to your opponent actually kind of creates this 11 out of 69 world where they can actually have a very strong turn.
Yep.
Firelands Portal into the 6/5, and then the taunt walls out the 2/2s. Whereas this kind of play, very little counterplay against that in this position.
Yeah, and there was also a small consideration for saying not play the Grandmother and press hero power instead, right? Your opponent's on 9.
Yeah.
You've not drawn any kill commands, and you could just kill them. There's still no secret up either. You can just bank that 2 damage every single turn. Suddenly, they either get kill command, or they're just scrambling around to try and, trying to be a little bit more safe. And this is another card that came up in Viper's list, which was a counter spell, which is kind of funny because it came up before Secret Mage was being played tons.
Right.
But now you have the crossover, where do people still think about counterspelling decks that aren't Secret Mage? Because maybe they should. You know what I mean? It's kind of a rough one. People seem to be experimenting more with secrets now. But again, Viper played counterspell last time he played this exact deck in HGG. So I'm presuming Belarus has done their homework here.
Counterspell aside, like, how do you diffuse this mess if you are Germany in
don't,
this position?
yeah.
There is just nothing going on. Volcanic Potion was already used. There's the second Firelands now, and that counterspell will prevent a kill command lethal at least. Unleash the Hounds will be counterspelled as well if it gets played, but is that representing lethal anyway? It is, right? No, it's 9, not 7. I think it was at 7 for some reason.
You always play Unleash here, though, right? Because you can run the Firefly and the Grandmother plus the Hound into the Mana Worm, buff the Hyena. And if it's counterspelled, you can just do it the other way with the Rat and buff the Hyena.
Yeah, if you're No Name, is like counterspell even entering your mind at this point?
Well, Viper played it last time in his deck, so that's what I mean by
it's a scouting question.
Yes, exactly. Right? If they've done their research, Viper played this list last week, so it's whether if they've done their research, they'll think about counterspell. But I think if it gets counterspelled, he's still not that bad. You know, he's still not that far off. You can develop the Hyena and the Elemental anyway. You can press hero power regardless, still hit in and set up lethal probably for next turn.
Counter argument: Highmane is big.
What if it's Entity though?
Well, you're playing Firefly first, right? Every single time.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty reasonable counter-argument. I just like pressing the hero power, though.
I do, too.
Could have been on 5 this turn, then just kill command without a beast gives you the game.
I am a huge fan of just whenever you get a start as aggressive as Belarus has been here, we've argued for it explicitly on 2 turns, and there could have been others, but let's just take those 2 turns where we've tried to explicitly argue for it. There's 5 right now. That's 3, that's 1. That means that they're in the position where hero power pops them, if this was Ice Block, for the rest of the game.
Yeah. They would be minus, 1 damage out, so it'd be on 6, because they played the Grandmother instead of the hero power.
That is fair.
So they would be -1, so they'd be on 6.
Right.
But still.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, very close. Well, they'll be on 4, because they would have hero powered this turn as well.
Right.
Yeah, so they'll be on 4 total. So, again, on paper, kill command hero power just wins you the game. Or hero power twice wins you the game. Like, I don't know. Especially because you're on 29. You don't need to rush the game out, which is a point of maybe playing the Highmane, but also you want to try and beat the Alexstrasza. Because that's the only thing that's going to cause an issue. If Ice Block comes down now, then Alexstrasza the turn after.
And I honestly think that's what's led Belarus down the path of not doing that, is that they counted the turns of just kind of hero power, hero power, hero power, and realized that doesn't beat Alexstrasza. So they've felt they've needed to have this board developed the whole time, because having a board developed is what beats Alexstrasza.
Yep. Okay, well, I didn't quite catch that. Was that trading to the 1-2? It was. Yep. So they're just going to get the block proc this turn.
They are.
Alexstrasza can come down, but now this is the trick. Proc the block, clear as much of the board if you can, but represent a large chunk of damage next turn. So if Alexstrasza comes down, you can ignore it, and you can probably ignore it anyway because it's only 8 damage and you're on 29, then you can just push through damage and kill them anyway.
Right. So, like, Unleash will proc the counterspell. That will give them full information that they're not dealing with, like, an Ice Barrier, for example. Now, from this position, they can go Direwolf and Hero Power to really try and push and develop a board. Or if that helps them pop on, like, cleaner numbers, or they can go Direwolf, Scavenging Hyena, and just really say, hey, you know what? Your answer right now is Alexstrasza and nothing else, and this is my strongest play against Alexstrasza.
Yeah, they will want to prop the block as low as possible because Ice Barrier is still a consideration. So if, you know, like, say the High Main gets Frost Bolted, then you Ice Barrier, there's one more turn.
Right.
As well as some development potentially on board.
Yeah, and I think this is why we're not seeing the Hyena come down. This is why I said, like, this just helps cleaner numbers pop
I like
blocks. Do you have enough damage in play to deal with Alex this way, though? There's, what, 6, 10? Yeah, there's exactly 15 on board, plus the hero power.
Yep.
Oh, GG, good play.
Yeah. This is just going to be it. There's nothing that Viper can do. And this is why I said right at the beginning, this is one of the worst matchups for this list, I feel, because the damage is relentless. And we didn't even see as many hero powers as we could have.
He's 2-0 to Belarus. And I've done a lot of research into the outcome of Firelands Portal. I don't think there is a Firelands Portal that gives you a taunt and heals you out of range of the hero power.
Or deals 29 damage to face.
No.
That would be kind of crazy.
Likely.
You just Firelands Portal your own face just to get lethal out that way. That would be good. Exact 29.
I do wonder what you're talking about sometimes, Raven.
What? If Firelands did 29...
2-0 to Belarus right now on the cusp of another huge upset. But honestly, how many times can we go back to the well of saying that teams beating Germany is a big upset? Like, if Germany aren't winning in this tournament to start with, is it still an upset when they lose again?
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, Germany did lose to Ukraine and Philippines. So, you know, Ukraine is doing very, very well at the moment, and Philippines are a very solid team as well. So, you know, they took some 2 hard losses there. But I also think it's important, we talk of underdogs or, you know, upset matches, about players we've not really seen play much. So this is the first, like, world sort of style tournament at Hearthstone Global Games.
Sure.
So we don't know which countries actually end up being good, especially when teamwork's involved as well. You know, we've seen teams like Bulgaria, for example, just come out of nowhere and just crush their group so far. They're performing very, very well. And we've seen teams like Germany, like Romania, that are teams we presumed were going to do very well, struggle. So, you know, until you actually make this happen, you don't know who's good, apart from Ukraine.
Apart from Ukraine, yeah. And just on, on the subject of unknown players, we said we spoke to Tvist to get a little bit of information about Belarus, who are perhaps the most unknown team in this entire tournament. I don't think there would be too much argument about that. There's probably like top 5 in terms of being an unknown entity. And No Name, who picked up that last win, was a player that Tvist personally had a lot of respect for. Said he was a very, very strong ladder player and someone that he campaigned amongst the Belarusian community to say, please vote for this guy. Like,
yeah, he's good. Get him in.
Want him on our team. Please vote for this guy. Like we tried to do with board control, but didn't work in the end. Unlucky.
Can't beat the egg puns.
Sorry, buddy. But yeah, so Tvist, who was the big community figure, like I said, the one person that I'd personally heard of before coming into this tournament and starting to do some research, having his backing behind you to say, yeah, we really want you on this team, probably means you're a solid player. And there was definitely a few divergent points in that Hunter game where, we were saying maybe you start hero powering here, do you hold back the Tundra Rhino? It was a very straightforward, aggressive game from the Hunter, just crushing out a slow deck, but still crazy that in the end that to see these German players just falling down one by one to the might of Belarus.
Yeah, and you know what? If they fall down to the might of King Mukla Zoo, this will be possibly the best match of Hearthstone. You heard.
Can we just take a minute here? Step 1, there is a Warlock. Step 2, it's a Zoo. Step 3, there is a King freaking Mukla in my face right now.
It's a good card, 3 mana 5/5. It's like a 4 mana 7/7, right? But 1 less mana,
but
2 less stats.
Different mana cost and different stats entirely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Good.
What's clever though is, do the bananas really help Quest Rogue?
No.
Yeah, they planned this all along.
They work. They will turn your 5/5 into a 6/6, but it's not going to be particularly relevant.
You know what's really funny as well? This isn't even the first Mukla I've looked at in the last 24 hours. Rage's Exodia Mage runs Mukla, the Tyrant, which actually gives you bananas to then benefit from the Antinidas buff. So,
Glacial
Mukla's coming back in the deck.
What is happening? All right, so similar situation. The last team that played a Warlock deck, I really wanted them to win so we could talk to them about it. We did get to talk to them about it, and it was awesome because they all blamed each other for bringing that Warlock deck.
Wasn't me.
Now I really want Belarus to win so we can have a chat about this. Do we even call it Zoo? Just curve
this
Warlock.
deck.
Kill 'em Warlock. All right, serious point though. Just serious time for a second. This is a serious consideration that I put into Warlock. It's one of the things that I've really just been trying to just lab and theory craft myself. Just looking at the format for this tournament and saying, what the hell are you supposed to do with Warlock? And the only thing I could come up with any real consistency is pair it with a class that makes your opponent want to pick Rogue. The problem is that's quite hard to do because you pair it with a Druid, so they want to pick Rogue into your Jade Druid. Well, your Druid could be aggro Druid, so they don't want to pick Rogue.
So you pair it with like Shaman then?
Same thing with Warrior. So yeah, Shaman is the one that I eventually came up with. But basically, the short version of that story is you're trying to line up Zoo against Quest Rogue. That is what you are trying to do. It's the only real thing I can see that Warlock can do successfully in this tournament.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there because any control Warlocks, how much I would love a late game control Warlock to be viable, it's just never done it. It just cannot keep up with either the other control decks or the aggro, or even mid-range decks at that point.
Right.
So you just wonder what can it do. I do think from what we've seen from some Zoo plays, we've seen Zoo win a couple of times already in Hearthstone Global Games. It can be done.
I believe the whiteboard in the background has a new addition.
Is there a word we can say? I can't read it.
It's saying Warlock.
Ah, okay.
Well played, Belarus.
You win this round.
Meme game on point.
Okay, and the juggler's coming down. The deck hand being played early is only going to help Twist really, get ahead because suddenly when the quest does happen, there's not double charges coming out early. It doesn't mean they're going to lose the board right now, but suddenly King Mukla rocks down, and I'm just going to look at Cameron's face when this happens, if this happens.
Yeah, I don't know how much that South Sea deckhand really helped Twist. It was a complete board clear of a knife juggler that was threatening to carry the game.
There we go.
There is the eyebrow raise from Germany and from Camlin, and as you said, these bananas probably not going to have a massive impact. They can make a 3/3 Stone Tusk ball here, which still isn't enough to deal with the 5/5.
Genius.
So this 5/5 is going to terrorize the board for a little while here, and this Glacial Shard is now going to find some serious value against Igneous Elemental.
Yeah, the dual benefit of one protecting the Mukla to a certain extent, because this Igneous Elemental kind of does 4. Because there's the 2 bananas available, but it protects the Mukla and stops the Igneous Elemental killing itself, which is very, very important indeed if you want to go down that route to proc the quest.
Also, sir, you may not have a weapon. Bloodsail Corsair are going to come down, and most likely just dumping the rest of the hand here, Patches being the one remaining card being held back just to be able to synergize immediately with any buffs that are in there, Direwolves, Abusive Sergeants, that kind of thing. Next turn could be played with a Defender of Argus immediately as well if that gets drawn, to be able to get immediate value out of the charge damage. Similar to like how in Aggro Druid, if you do draw Patches, you try and still play it in the same turn as a Mark of the Lotus or whatever else.
Man, there's some Mukla going face. Novice Engineer, not going to be too crazy here. Going to help Cycle maybe into some answers, but I do like this as well because the wide board is the issue. Twist could have just played the Corsair there and just hero powered, just to draw and then keep his hand size decent and then continue to just power onto the board. You just go wide. What is Quest Rogue actually going to do? Just not a lot. You've already seen a deckhand and Patches.
Yep. Prep Vanish is about the only thing you're really scared of at this point. We see the Vanish, we don't see the Prep.
Just fill the hand with bananas.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
And also Glacial Shard gets value again, so even that isn't an absolute worst case scenario here for Twist.
So 5, 7, 8, 9, 12 damage in play, being face down next turn. Still 2 turns away from a natural Vanish being able to happen. It's looking like Belarus might just be getting there with their ambitious Warlock deck. Much unlike Israel were able to do, and theirs fell very much flat on its face.
Brewmaster not really going to help out here. And when you're using your charge minions plus a banana to help trade with the board, you know you're in a rough state as this Quest Rogue.
Hey, this is just a value trade. That's just good. Oh, no, it isn't. Oh, shame.
Shame. Ding, ding.
Not used to you uttering that syllable without an on the end.
Hey, this is not an in. Don't know why people spell it like that.
I don't know either.
It's weird, isn't it?
I like making fun of the way you say shaman, but I don't understand the Chain-Min thing.
I just don't say that word.
No.
So, okay. Direwolf, though, great pickup here. It's going to help with this wide board, start pushing even more damage here. And the Voidwalker probably won't be placed with the Direwolf, do you think, to just make it even less likely that the
dude,
Igneous
who
Elemental...
cares if that Igneous Elemental is getting popped open right now? This thing's going next to the Direwolf because it takes the dagger to go into it potentially anyway. The 1 extra damage to the Rogue's face is far more relevant than trying to stop them proccing a Firefly.
Yeah, there's actually... Because there's more than likely no backstabs.
I disagree.
Well,
I disagree.
I think it's a low chance that somehow this Igneous Elemental can kill itself, but now it won't even potentially kill itself over 2 turns.
I just don't care about this Igneous Elemental killing itself.
Well, that's mean. Someone's got to care about the Igneous Elemental.
That is actually a very harsh sounding sentence,
yeah,
isn't it?
I just don't care about you. This is what Sol says to me off camera, by the way, guys.
I take it all back. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like if this 1-3 needs to be cleared, then it's going to have to be the dagger going in. And I feel like that 1 extra point of damage to Rogue's face is just more important than worrying about this Igneous Elemental.
I guess you kind of get the 1 extra damage anyway, though, right?
Why?
Because, oh no, I suppose you gain it back if the minion dies.
Right.
I guess. Yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, second banana coming out now.
I guess knowing the banana's there means that the dagger up won't necessarily always happen. So in that case, maybe it's worthwhile. But even then, like if you know the banana's there and it's trading in regardless, why is there a dirty rat in this deck, Raven?
I actually stopped listening to what you were saying there and just stared at this dirty rat.
All right, no, I mean, this makes sense. It actually makes sense if you think about it. If, as I set up at the start, the plan for this is just to try and queue it into Quest Rogue, Dirty Rat is actually a very useful card to have against Quest Rogue.
I mean, look at this deck. And every single card does just beat Quest Rogue, right? It's kind of scary that they've managed to hit the Quest Rogue in the first place, which we've talked about teching decks, right? Great, you can tech a deck to beat almost anything, but in the HGG format, you've got to hit the person with that deck first, and you have no clue what order that's going to play in. So, you know, hitting this queue and having this deck like almost purpose-built to beat Rogue, absolutely insane. It looks to be working here, because suddenly... Even just the 6 health of the Dirty Rat's a lot to get through now. And you can't really vanish this board. Wait, well, you can, but as much as it delays the Warlock to a certain extent, it delays you just as much. You've still not really got anything you can make the quest go with.
Yeah, Glacial Shard is on 2 for them, I believe, and the Glacial Shard has just been killed, so that's not even going to get any vanish value. All of these other minions are at 1, apart from the Hungry Crab, which is actually at 0 because it got Dirty Ratted. So the quest is just nowhere near right now.
Can kill the rat and vanish, which is a small, tiniest of bonuses.
Yeah.
I just want to see Mukla come down again. Just do it, who cares?
Well, Patches, Abusive, and Direwolf is already 4 damage just from hand now.
Freeze face. Oh no, you don't want to freeze face. You want him to dagger a minion.
You just play everything else apart from those cards, right? You just hold on to Direwolf.
Get 1 damage
Patches,
in. Yeah. I do like Mukla though, because there's still just no answer. There's just no answer. Like, what are you going to do? You already know what 2 of the cards in hand are for the Rogue anyway.
Yes.
One's Igneous Elemental, one's Ferryman.
Right.
Enjoy that sweet combo.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Belarus potentially, looking very, very close at least to 3-0 in Germany here.
Just Dirty Rat and freeze whatever it is that comes out seems perfectly reasonable as well.
Especially we can see 2 of them are bouncers, 1 of them's a taunt generation.
I'm not sure why you'd play any of the buff minions though, honestly. I feel like just holding all that back for the magical Patches lethal combo is just more beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. You're not going to gain anything right now from the buffs. All you're doing is potentially getting them killed. But I also suppose Belarus is probably confident enough that how do they even lose? Yeah, can they actually lose?
But that is the relevant question, right? It's like in these kind of situations where you're so far ahead, it is just, you know, turning...
Keep it clean.
Yeah, there was a phrase from Zalay during EU versus CN, which was a really nice way of putting it, which is like, you're going to win this game 99.99999% of the time. Your job is to figure out how to add another 9 to that.
Yeah.
Right? Which is just how you have to look at it. And it's not an excuse to not, like, maximize your win rate because you're so far ahead.
Yeah. Well, I don't spot anything that can even give Camlin a chance here.
No.
You just can't deal with the Mukla. The only way that this could happen, let me think. I don't think there's the mana. You would need to isolate the Mukla on the board and then play Tide Hunter. right? You know, to just put a taunt in the way. And that is not going to be enough. High fives all around from Belarus. That wouldn't have even worked because they knew Patches is in hand to kill the 1-1.
Yep.
Absolutely dismantled the Quest Rogue from Germany there. And Belarus take this series 3-0. They had their loss against Czech Republic. Belarus, to be fair, probably one of the hardest groups of the whole of Hearthstone global game.
For sure, yeah.
They lost to Czech Republic. They just crushed Germany. So now they are 1-1. And very importantly, as we've seen throughout this day, as we've been looking at the groups, they've got 3-0 in game score.
And I've cast back-to-back series now, and those two series are very much the tale of two Warlock decks. There is one that just did not happen, had nothing going for it whatsoever, and Israel, the country that brought it, were very, very unhappy with it. And then we saw, perhaps, what we will see as the long-term role of Warlock in this format, which is just trying to get it in there and snipe some rogues, and it worked absolutely perfectly. I said that I've been trying to theorycraft this kind of role against Rogue. I had not gone as deep as slamming double Dirty Rat in there to make that happen.
It wasn't just one, was it? It was just double Dirty Rat, Glacial Shards.
Unbelievable.
Just get in there. Even Abusive Sergeant is just more damage. Since the nerf, no one's really been playing it. But
maybe one, yeah.
Yeah, maybe one max.
Right.
But, you know, it's just extra damage you can get out of nowhere. And we can actually speak to Twist now, as I believe he is already. Can you hear us, Twist?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hey, so congratulations on that win, guys. You know, 3-0. Absolutely fantastic.
First question, Warlock. What on earth was going on with that deck? Talk to us, please, about that zoo. It was insane.
We found that Warlock is very weak class, and it's good to tech very hard this deck. I mean weak decks, weak classes like Warlock.
Yep.
So we found a line with Shaman. We found a lane with Shaman where your opponent cannot pick Quest Rock if he sees this line. I mean Shaman and Warlock, because Quest Rock is insanely good against Warlock, any kind of Warlock, and Shaman. So we take Warlock hard against Quest Rock. To work out very good.
It did, worked out perfectly. I think you might have to change the Monka S to a Feels Good Man on the board behind you. just to round it out. But yeah, I was saying in the previous series, like Israel also had the idea of like trying to tech a Warlock deck really, really hard, but kind of went in the other direction. This one looked way, way more successful for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, really awesome series to watch, and a huge congratulations again. Beating out Germany 3-0 is definitely a great victory for you guys. And you can start on that climb in what is a very, very tough group overall. So congratulations again, and we'll speak to you later, no doubt.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Awesome to hear from those guys and just saying, look, they just basically debated their opponent. They said, I've got Warlock Shaman. Oh, Rogue's really good. Is it now?
Right.
Absolutely genius.
I love talking to players because, you know, we can only do so much theorycraft as casters as to what is going through players' head. And we said, you know, maybe you end up pairing it with Shaman for exactly that reason. And then to hear them just say the same thing, that was kind of their thought process, it's just great to hear. And I think it's commendable in general to put that much thought into Warlock when it would be very easy to just say, all right, dumpster class, we'll just get rid of it.
Yeah, and if we look at this group now, Ukraine, Czech Republic rocking the top at 3-0 match records, but Belarus now in third place with 2 matches played. But look how important that 3-0 was. They lost their first match 0-3, so now they've kind of negated to a certain extent that loss, which could come back and bite them later on when it comes to tiebreakers.
For sure, and just sliding themselves now above Germany, above the Philippines, like these countries that have well-known representatives playing for them. Germany with Super JJ, Camlin, Life Coach, such a strong team, and the unknown team to basically all of us, apart from a few of us that will have known about Twist.
Yeah.
Has just stepped above them in the group, and I still can't get over how insane. I'm just lost English because of how insane that Warlock deck was.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and it shows there's much more that can be done, one, with this format, and 2 with the current standard rotation in general as well. You can always make something work. You can always take a deck to do something, but the way they lined it up, pairing it with another class that is weak to Rogue on paper, and then sniping it straight with that Warlock, absolutely amazing to see. Very quick series there, but we've got another one coming right up, so don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back soon.
We're almost there. Quiet down, everyone. This is not like any of our previous expeditions. This will be far more ambitious. We're stepping into a land of primordial wonder. Infused with astonishing elemental energies. The plant life here holds very unusual properties. So don't touch anything. And while you may be excited to see the local fauna, you might want to make sure they don't see you. Because their powers of adaptation are devastating. Make no mistake, we will be tested at every turn. But if we stay on our guard, we might just survive. Now then, are you ready? Then let's journey into Ongoro Crater.